You're listening to the StoryBrand podcast, based on Donald Miller's best-selling book, Building a StoryBrand. The StoryBrand framework is made up of 7 key elements, all of them anchored in one powerful idea. Your customer is the hero, and you are their guide. Each week on the podcast, you'll get exactly what you need to craft clear messaging that connects with more customers and grows your business. Now let's dive in with your hosts, Donald Miller and Kyle Reed.
Welcome to the StoryBrand podcast, based on my best-selling book, Building a StoryBrand 2.0. If you are looking for a podcast that helps you clarify your message, we've got you covered. Today, we're joined by Jahng, who is an expert. He's a StoryBrand certified guide, but you've chosen this route of helping nonprofits, mission-driven organizations, a lot of businesses too, but a lot of people who have a cause. You don't think of them as having a product, they have a cause, and you help them figure out how to communicate that mission and drive up engagement. We thought it'd be fun to have you on the show because there's so many businesses who need to do this. They're not a nonprofit. They're not, quote unquote, helping people who are in poverty or on death row or anything like that. And yet, even if you're selling hair ointment or something like that, it's best if you figure out your mission. And, we've heard this. Simon Sinek talks about it and Start With Why.
Yes.
But I'm very curious. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me,
And
Don.
thank you for being a StoryBrand certified guide for so many years.
Yes, always love hanging with you.
And also, we're joined by my co-host, Kyle Reed.
Yeah, we're glad you're here, Kenny.
Yeah, we've been looking forward to this. How important, from a business perspective, not a nonprofit's perspective, how important that a CEO identify their mission? How important is that?
Oh, absolutely. It's the number one thing. So when we go in and consult, I play this game called Separate the Prisoners.
Okay.
And so what we do is...
I think they did this at Stanford like 4 years ago. Do you remember that?
Yeah, so we'll bring in the key leaders, your executive team, and then we'll put sticky notes on the board, 1 through 10. And then we'll give everyone sticky notes and label them 1 through 10. I'll ask questions. And then you write them down. And we'll collate them all, everyone's answer to number 1, to number 2, number 3.
What sort of questions?
And then we'll stand back. And the question is like, what's our purpose? When do we win? When can we go out for a 4-hour golf game? When do we reach the mark that we're supposed to go to? The vision that you've cast as a leader. So simple questions that surely the executive team here should all be singing in unison.
Let me guess, they don't.
Well, if you look at the Post-it notes, we've had a COO been fired in 60 days after that because, you've been with me for 22 years and you can't answer these questions, right? Because there's so much frustration that the leader thinks that they're casting a vision, that they've set a mark, they have a mission in their mind for their business, but yet the team doesn't know what it is. There's no clarity in the inner room. So if you can't do that, how can your stakeholders, your investors, your customers, what are they, your employees? If you can't get it together in your main room, how are they going to actually rally around you?
And what happens before we get there, because I want to get into the process of how somebody actually figures out that mission, but what are the negative ramifications of not having it? I mean, how much does that hurt the bottom line?
I mean, there's so many, you could flip it the other way around. When we clarify the business, like we've gone in, I was just talking with a past customer, so we revisit our customers, which is always a good practice, and say, how are you doing since we installed the StoryBrand framework in your business? And he said that their sales development process went from 18 months, from first touch conversation to a closing of a contract, down to 9 months.
Wow.
9 months.
Well, that's probably millions, right?
Yeah, that kind of stuff makes a difference. Even if you did 10%, 20% jump, right? And so if you flip it on the negative, what happens when you're not clear, when your employees don't know what you're saying? When I talk to you about your company, you give me one answer, I talk to you and a second time and you tell me something else, you confuse, you lose, as you say.
Yeah. What was the kind of underlining thing for them? What did they clarify in that room to move from 18 months to 9
So
months?
the way he said is like they used to have 100 different questions and 100 different answers of what they actually do. And just the very basic premise of what are we selling and what's the aspirational outcome, right? In our StoryBrand framework, we talk about the successes. And just understanding what our goal is for the customer for their successful life after they work with us. When you're in unison with that, that changes everything because everyone has the same target.
Are the conversations you're having similar to the ones that I have? We brought in a company came in recently, spent a day with me, called You Need a Budget. They really are excited about the fact that they change lives. I mean, marriages stick together, kids get to pay off their college debt, or go at it smarter. People are owning a home that they might have never owned a home. They actually would consider themselves a lifestyle brand. But what was interesting to me about that leadership team was they were more interested in helping me understand what they weren't than what they were. So they're not this, they're not this, they're not this. They're not just a budgeting app. They don't like the fact that they're in the financial part of the app store, those kinds of things. We're not this, we're not this. Which in no way is actually explaining what you are, right? And so by the end of our time together, we came up with the tagline, "Get good with money," so that you download this app and it helps you get good with money. And the story starts with, if you've ever been worried about money, it's probably because you were bad with money. Download the YNAB app so we can help you get good with money so you never have to worry about money again. Those are literally the 5 sound bites that we came up with in the room.
But isn't that natural? Everyone thinks they're special. Everyone thinks that they've got something, the world's best kept secret. And so I think that's the first impulse that we typically run into. It's like, we're not like them, because they're not just the plain vanilla, that they've come up with something. They have something to contribute to the marketplace.
But that would be as hard as if you go to a restaurant and you say, well, what's the special today? And you say, well, it's not a cheeseburger. It's not that. I'll tell you that right now. And it's not, I'll tell you, we don't do deep fried. It's not
your
deep
menu's
fried.
longer.
And the whole time you're trying to figure out what the heck the special actually is.
What can I order?
And I think that's where a lot of people go. And
you get stuck there.
And instead of saying, well, the problem is, as soon as you try to say, here's what we are, it's a limiting definition, because where they get stuck is, but we're more than that. What do you do when when you say, look, if you would just say this, you could get some traction here, but you keep nuancing what you're trying to say so much so that it's diluted and we can no longer understand what this business actually offers. How do you get them to stop doing that?
So the conversation I had recently with one company was saying, hey, look, I understand you want to be better than everybody else. You want to be different than everyone else. But really, it's something that my Jedi Master Donald has told me this, right? That you don't win the sale by being better. You win by being understood, by being clear.
Yeah,
and it's the speed of clarity.
I still believe that, because people will say, well, we want to differentiate.
Yes.
We don't want to say it because that's what our competitors do. And I say, is your competitor making money? Yes. Okay, so just say it.
Yes.
Say it. Yeah, you're not even clear at all right now. Let's get clear first. Let me ask you this. What do you do with a founder whose mission gets pretty obvious in a boardroom? The mission is more or less just to stay alive. It's just to make payroll. It's just to keep this thing going. And they actually wouldn't die for whatever cause they have. I mean, how do you help them get back to the first principles of, you didn't start this organization to make payroll. You started this organization to solve somebody's problem. And you can trust the fact that if you go back to that, the score will take care of itself, as Bill Walsh says. What do you do when somebody has lost touch with the mission in the first place? Not only can they not articulate it, it's now just to stay alive. And I think there's a lot of people listening who feel like they're in that seat.
Oh, there's absolutely. I think there's actually a nonprofit that I've worked with where it became like a vanity board of trustees, and they weren't fully in it, which on my side, as the consultant coming in, helping them raise money for Giving Tuesday or end of year, they weren't doing their best. They weren't even doing LinkedIn posts. They weren't contributing. They weren't telling everybody. So one of the ways we did, we kind of set them up as the hero themselves. And so we created a podcast and we interviewed them and say, why are you volunteering your time and energy for this organization? What makes it so special that you're contributing? And tapping those stories of the original why that they got involved. What's the part of the nonprofit organization that you find to be so compelling? And then once you get them to start to tell the stories, they remember why they actually were there in the first place. I think it's the same thing with business. Why am I an employee of this place, or why am I a business owner in this place? It's because I'm trying to solve a problem that the marketplace needs. There was some gap, right, that this business was flourishing up to this point. And if you could just re-articulate that problem, I think that's one of the things. And for StoryBrand, what we do is it's that internal, external philosophical problem. Getting to the philosophical problem then reignites that passion for the most part.
Yeah, unpack that a little bit for our listeners. The philosophical problem is basically, the way I explain it is, it's the oughts. It's people ought not struggle with this.
Yes.
They ought not have to struggle with this. And so this is actually your philosophical cause.
Yes.
a good product shouldn't go unnoticed because of bad messaging. It's not right.
Yes.
Right? A good product should win in the marketplace. Yes. And the reason you're not winning is your message is so diluted and so, nuanced. Nobody can understand anymore. That's our ought if you look at the StoryBrand part of our business.
And that's the thing you have to tap and get everyone to articulate on their own terms.
Right.
On the team. When their enthusiasm is a little dry or diluted, I think you got to get them to understand it and say it from their own words.
Yeah.
And articulate that. And I say that the philosophical problem needs to be manifesto worthy.
Yeah.
It means that any bystander can come and hear that philosophical problem that you're trying to solve and say, you know what? That is a good call. The world needs that, right? They may not have their own passion and connection and resonance to the full degree, but someone should be solving that problem for that specific segment of the population. And if you can do it in a way that it's non-negotiable, it's non-objectionable, and people can say, yes, that's a good thing in this world, that's when people start to come alive.
I've got a two-part question that I often ask, and it's this. Who's going to die if they don't have your product?
Yes.
And how are they going to die? And people look at me like, well, Don, we sell like AI customer service, so nobody's going to die. And I go, no. You can't sell anything unless it's a life or death issue. So we got to tie this back to death. And hear me out. If I'm on an AI customer service chatbot and it doesn't understand and it keeps repeating the same thing over and over, it is a blow to my identity. It is telling me, Donald Miller, you don't matter enough for us to put a human being on the phone. And that is a kind of death. So we're not talking about death. We're talking about a kind of death.
Yes.
And I think that's where most leadership rooms need to start. We need to say, how are people going to die without our product? How are they, going to head toward death, if you will? Lose sleep, more anxiety, more stress, lack of resources, an affront to their identity is a big one. And then how do we stop that from happening? And I think in that realm somewhere, you find your mission. Because your mission has to be, we exist so that this person no longer has to experience this pain.
Yes.
That's really it. We exist so that this person, coaches, no longer have to experience the pain of having to figure out how to grow a business, a coaching business. That's why we exist. I'm curious about with those 10 Post-it notes when you're taking a leadership group through this, what's your process for getting there, for getting to that mission?
Well, I think
you circling things on the board?
Yeah, so we are actually putting those things, and of course, I don't think it's never happened where everybody's in unison in any of those questions and answers. And so we start to find pattern recognition. Are you all saying the same thing? Let's group them. Is it one idea, two ideas, three ideas? And then it's the controlling idea. Yeah. So we actually give it back to the group. It's not me to define it for them, right? It is their idea, their business, their understanding. And so they have to wrestle with it and struggle and fight for the winner. What is the controlling idea that wins? And there it's democratic. It's the best idea wins. And when I'm
the most votes in the room, is that what you're getting
at? That's where we get to. And so a lot of times we'll remove the senior leader out of the room so everyone can say the truth, right? And then bring them back in and show the actual work. And so that's an eye-opening moment for a lot of people.
You kind of mentioned this earlier, Kenny, talking about a little bit of the byproduct of when a brand gets this right. You talked about the example of the podcast. There's some other effective things you've seen once you nail that mission, the why. What are some byproducts of that for companies when they get that right?
Yeah, I think they now know what the problems they're solving. I think this is we go into entrepreneurship and business a lot of times seeing things in the marketplace generally out there, but generic solutions have generic results, right? Yeah. And the more you can actually be laser focused and surgical in understanding, I'm solving this problem. Am I creating mugs with left-handed handles or right-handed handles, right? Like being very specific about it. Then you now know what lead magnets you're going to solve problems for, what webinars you're going to actually go out and do. There's all these things that all of a sudden become clear in focus. Once you know the manifesto-worthy problems that you're solving at the big level, then you can just drill down. It just cascades down very automatically.
It's almost like a lot of times we're trying to solve the puzzle without the mission or
Oh,
vision.
absolutely.
And then once you kind of nail that mission, all the pieces seem to kind of fall into place.
Absolutely.
But if you skip that, you're trying to put a puzzle together without the box, you know, where
Yes.
you're like, what am I trying to build here?
Yeah, and a thing is, a lot of times businesses evolve over time, over decades even, and then you've added all these ancillary products and services. You've built a Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And talk about that controlling idea. A lot of times it's about subtraction, not addition, right? It's not a strategy session of what else do we need to add to the product mix? No, it's usually what do we need to cut because it doesn't serve our core audience. And if we double down on our core audience and our core problem, we would actually do double, triple more advancement in all the metrics that we're trying to measure versus trying to do 10 things at once, right?
Let's prove that this is true. I'll quiz you guys. What's the mission of Coca-Cola?
I hate that you're looking at me and not Kenny when you said
Look at
that.
you too, Kyle.
What's the mission? I mean,
to be fair,
make awesome
we're gonna have
soda
three
that I
different
wanna-
answers. We're gonna have three different answers.
make
but
addicting soda that I love.
make addicting soda. I mean, what would you say to that, Kenny?
I think it's happy moments, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's that. They're kind of going after
Memories.
joy.
Something
yeah.
with polar bears. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're.
Even that's nostalgia, right? That's
Yeah.
moments and memories.
But I think their mission is to make people happy.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Coke and a smile.
Yeah, Coke and a smile. Toyota.
Toyota.
Why do you keep spinning and looking at me?
Everybody's looking at you. What do you think?
Reliable vehicles.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think but the fact that you could say it
Yeah.
says a lot about a company.
Yeah.
You know, it says a lot about the products they manufacture, the time that goes into
There's
it.
something you said, Kenny, too. It's like, it reminds me of like, that was started a long time ago. They didn't really lose that thread.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to build that up in the consumer's mindset that they make reliable vehicles, because to be reliable, it has to last a long time.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, if you try to launch that day one, there's a process of building out that being known for type thing, I would say, to that, you know.
Yeah.
To some degree, it's super easy to want to have this aspirational identity that actually takes time to build, that you stay faithful to.
Yeah.
Because if they skip to, well, we just make really cheap cars that people want to buy, you lose the mission of reliable.
Chick-fil-A.
Eat more chicken.
That's their mission. I think Chick-fil-A has. I think they have the mission of speaking to the dignity of their customers. That they treat their customers with dignity. It is not for them a transactional relationship. There's more on the line than money being transacted for chicken. It's this business exists to display a servant heart, almost like nobody else.
Yep, agreed.
And they are richly rewarded for that. But I would say that's a mission-driven organization.
Yeah, it's definitely mission-driven if you've ever been to the headquarters. But I would say it's something of that line of family, or just something about it in terms of relationship, right?
Yeah,
that it's not just business. We're not here just about
Yeah,
business.
You're not
We're
money
here
to
about
us.
Yeah.
You're
you know
not money to us.
What's cool with Chick-fil-A is it's like, okay, if they say that as their mission, it's
I don't
not-
even know if they say it though.
Well,
They
but
kind of
I mean,
live
like,
it, right?
They're living it, but they're still super profitable, because I think about their drive-through experience. It was so innovative of how they just completely rethought all of that. More efficiency, more customer serve. It is a lot easier for me to think about where to go eat, because I know my girls love Chick-fil-A, but also it's just I'm in and out. It's so easy.
Yeah, they have spent a lot of again,
It
but
drives
that it drives innovation. Treating people with dignity, their time is important. The way they feel about themselves is important. Okay, one last one. Macintosh computers, Apple computers. What do you think their mission is? You know, none of these have stated their mission. I can't think of a tagline. You know, think different or whatever. But to me, it's if we can sit there and within 10 seconds go, it seems like their mission is this. That is a mission-driven organization, because that's not an accident. That takes a lot of work to get that through to the end zone.
I'll probably take some hate for this, because I think the word efficiency, and a lot of people will say, well, that's a Microsoft Android like efficient, but really it's when I open up my computer, my phone, it just works. It's thought through with clever design that just flows.
It's easy to use,
which I would call efficiency.
Yeah, technology that's just. And I think, remember the old ads where you had the cool kid and the nerdy kid, and the nerdy kid represented IBM and the cool kid. That's what they were saying. They were just saying this stuff should be easy. You shouldn't have to have a PhD in order to figure out how to use a computer and use it to express yourself. That I think that's that. Have either of you guys watched the series Welcome to Wrexham on FX?
Yes.
No, not yet.
That,
Not yet.
It's so good.
I'll put it on my playlist.
It's Ryan Reynolds, the actor Ryan Reynolds, and Rob McElhenney from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Those two guys bought a level
Football.
3, tier 3 football.
They were not premier. Yeah, football.
Oh, they weren't premier for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
but
no,
it goes
they were
so
way down.
the way it goes in relegation and promotion
Yeah.
is Premier League, Championship League, League 1, League 2, League 3.
And they were League 3.
I think they might have even been beneath League 3.
Wow.
Weren't they at risk of losing League 3 at
Yes,
some point?
that's what.
Something
Maybe
like
that's
that.
what it was.
Yeah.
But I've watched all 4. It's a documentary series following their purchasing of a team. It's kind of a brilliant business move to tell the story. But they moved from League 3 to League 2 to League 1. No, I'm sorry. They moved from 3 to 2, 2 to 1, and 1 to Championship League, which has never happened in the history of soccer. In the history of the game, it has never happened in consecutive years that somebody has taken a team.
And what was the secret sauce?
But that's not so much the secret sauce. But the secret sauce is a lot of money, a lot of luck, and some really, really good decisions. That's the secret sauce of how they did it. But what's amazing to me is in the actual documentary series, nothing about that team feels like a business. I mean, nothing. It is a mission. It is and they bleed that in that series. This city, Wrexham, is home of the worst mining disaster in the history of mining disasters, and therefore we're going to have this element in the team and this statue out in front of this statue in town. This couple they're expats from Ukraine, and they came here to start a coffee shop, and soccer reminds them of their home country, and they're always finding this young man has leukemia, and his favorite player is Paul Mullen, and on and on and on. And they just find a way in every episode to make the team, which by the way is a business, mission driven. It's not about a transactional relationship with the customer giving us money in exchange for this. It's about humanity and heart and uplifting human beings and representing the best in all of humanity. And to me, if I could point to an example of a business, a for-profit business embodying a mission-driven sort of spirit, I think it would be Wrexham FC. There's a lot of them, but partly because it also makes really good television.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And I wonder if that's not an experiment or an exercise, Kenny, if we, next time you and I both sit in lots of rooms with lots of leaders, to be able to say, look, if they made a documentary about this, about your business, what makes it human?
What is it?
What makes it human?
I mean, I think Chick-fil-A is similar. That football, soccer story is similar, but it's like when leadership doubles down on mission, you win in the marketplace, right? It just happens. I spoke at a Chick-fil-A leadership thing, 10, 15 years ago. It was before I was married, 15 years ago. And we were at this golf resort, and Dan Cathy and Bubba were there, and David Salyers and all these guys. And I spoke about StoryBrand, and then Dan kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, if you want to be a part of our big leadership meeting, I'd love for you to come in. And we don't often let people sit in on this, and a lot of business secrets in here. So, I'm not going to make you sign something, but, don't tell anybody or whatever. And I was expecting like all sorts of like trade
sauce
secrets,
recipes and things like that. And I don't think Dan would mind me sharing this. Dan got up and guided that entire room for probably 3 hours through one of the most beautiful exercises in reminding the room that their customers are human. I mean, it was literally to the point of who in the room has interacted with one of our customers who's been hurting. Stand up, tell us about that. How can we pray about them? What did we do for them? Zero business talk the entire freaking time. And I'm sitting there going, this isn't a secret. This isn't a strategy. This is a man's heart. Yeah. This is a group of people's heart.
That's an expensive meeting.
It's an expensive meeting. But you know what? They would say it's the point.
Yeah, that's the priority.
Yeah. That's the point. It's the point. It's why they exist, I think. And so, I guess if there's one controlling idea of this episode, it's that your mission matters, and your mission needs to be connected to the welfare of your customer.
Yeah.
And not it's the part of the business where you get to lose the bottom line thinking for a minute and just say, why do we actually exist? Now we have to be sustainable, so the bottom line has to come into play at some
So
point.
many times we work with nonprofits, and nonprofits want to learn from marketplace businesses.
Right.
But I truly believe this is the one area where marketplace businesses can learn from mission-driven organizations.
Kenny,
Yeah.
if I'm sitting here listening to this now, outside of going and hiring you, which
Yeah.
I think would be a great exercise for a lot of people to do, but what's something practical people listening just can do? Maybe they can't do that exercise on the whiteboard, or maybe they can't, but what would you tell them to start working on their mission to kind of get back to that clarity?
Oh, absolutely. I have an easy one. There's a great book, Chet Holmes, The Ultimate Sales Machine, has a concept called the Dream 100.
Okay.
And typically Dream 100 is going out and doing outreach for business development. And I say it's the reverse. Find the perfect avatar, right? So if I'm going to bring the Dream 100 to you at a cocktail party and just line up the next 100 customers that you're going to onboard, who are they? So you should know who they are. Like literally you should have a list of your next 100 customers. And then I would try to figure out how to have conversations with them, how to have a coffee chat and just talk to 100 current customers and 100 prospect customers. I guarantee you, after you talk to 100 customers and prospects, you will have much more clarity on what your purpose is, where in the whole puzzle you fit, what value you offer, and what's going to bring them to you. Because most of the times we don't want to sell to people. We want our customers and prospects to drag us across the finish line. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Don't be a salesman, be an order taker.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is get as close as possible to your prospect or your customer. If you're not doing that regularly, then you probably are not doing it well.
Yeah.
That's good.
Kenny, thanks for coming on today. Where can people find out more about you?
I'm available on social media everywhere, Kenny Jahng. And if you want
Can you
to
spell that for us?
Jahng is the last name, and I'm sure it'll be in the show notes. And Big Click Syndicate is the name of the company, bigclicksyndicate.com. That's where I hang out.
Gotcha.
Thanks, Kenny, for joining us. This has been great.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the StoryBrand podcast. No matter where you are in your marketing and messaging journey, get the tools, the training, and the support you need to start clarifying that message at StoryBrand.com. And don't forget to follow and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and then leave a comment letting us know what resonated with you and what we can unpack to help your business grow in a future episode. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.